Okay, now one of the things that's about trainers is we are the masters and advocates of change. We carry change. Everything we do, everything we say, processes and practices and plans that we have, they're all about change. Now, changing for the better, we hope. And we hope when we introduce our concepts, our ideas, that change is accepted. Unfortunately not. The word change is a subject and a word which puts fear into many people. What's the first natural reaction to change? Well, I can tell you what it is. It is resistance. Why? Because we're actually, when we are used to doing things, we're in what we call a behavioural pattern of comfort. We are creatures of safety and comfort. We like to do what we've always done. So the idea about making a change, whether it's a practice, procedure, whether it's protocol, whether it's an idea, whether it's behaviour, if it's outside the realm of what we call comfort for people, and let's put it into this box of comfort zone, then we sometimes feel the emotional reaction to resist or challenge that change. Why do we need to do it? How am I going to do this? Well, this is a short excerpt on how to manage change. And if any of you ever need to be able to be the advocate of change and push through change in a strong and confident way, then you need to remember certain key things. First thing is you need to make change safe. Now, when we talk about making change safe, there are two factors to this. Remember, when we are thinking about change, if I asked you, what do you think about change? If you actually think to yourself, what do I think about change? Do I love it? Am I an unconditional lover of change? Do I like change if it's beneficial? Do I like change if I can see what's happening? Can I accept change if I think that there's going to be something which is taken care of, reassures me in the future? The thing about change is, if you're going to be the change processor, the change master, the person who pushes it through, you've got to make it safe for people. The two things you have to do when you make change safe. There's two areas you have to address. One is the structural. You have to make sure that there is a structural element to change. Now, when we talk about structure, we're talking about how the change will be put across. People will engage in change, and the first reaction to change is, how am I supposed to do that then? How do they expect us to do this? How are we supposed to get all this done with everything we do? When you talk about change with people, you've got to make sure the structural side of it is taken care of. Now, to do that, what you need are plans. Nothing works without a plan. With that, you need to make sure there's a process. People like to see that if they're going to engage in something, it's thought through. Nobody likes a magical mystery tool. If you go to a presentation, you want somebody to give you an agenda. If you're going to go into a project, you want people to give you a project plan. If you're going to start, if somebody tells you what we're going to be doing this week in terms of work priorities, you want them to set out the schedule of what we're going to be doing. Plans and processes are important in there. Now, some of the other factors we can have in terms of structural elements of change are guidelines. So people understand not necessarily what they have to do, but the accepted processes and procedures to enable them to do that. Now, if you've got guidelines, you know where you're going, what you're looking to do. So you have to have the element of structure in any change process. The thing is, though, with change, it is quite emotional, but you have to be addressing emotional second, which is where we talk about making change safe on a secondary part of it. Number two is emotional. Now, this is where people start to think about change from that psychological processing point of view. If I can see that there is a benefit, and that's one of the key things, if there's a benefit to the change, then I might accept it. Benefit produces value. Now, when you're selling change, talking about change, make sure there's benefits and value to that. Always make sure, as we talked about the how in structure, then you have to be able to say the why in emotions and give people reasons for. Don't naturally assume just because you're the advocate you can see the reasons why we need to change, but everybody else has to as well. And even people who reluctantly do see it, really it is part of your job to be able to re-emphasise, reinforce those. So there has to be benefits, value, some reasons as to why we are changing, and why is really important. If you really have to push through change, you have to make sure that people understand the impacts of change, or rather, the impacts of not changing. Because a lot of people are saying, we are creatures of safety and comfort, we'd like to stay where we are. If I don't see the reasons why, then I'm quite happy to stay in my little silo, my little box of operation. So you have to be able to let people know what the impact of change are. Some of you may have gone through a change process where it's a change of procedure, where it's mandatory, everybody has to go through it. But there's always some people who resist right up to the last minute, to the point whereby when they have to make the change, when the system changes over or the process is at a point of no return, then they start to say, well, I don't know how to operate. Well, we told you 6 months ago. Well, this is a key thing. You have to ensure that people understand the impacts and consequences of change. The last part of change, though, in terms of the emotional, is where you as a change advocate or change master have to think about this, because when people are placed into the future with change, especially if you don't see the benefits or the reasons why, there's an awful lot of fear associated with change. So what you have to do is you have to remove the fear. Now what that means is give people guarantees, give people structures, give people plans, reassure them in terms of their own emotional state, how the effects will be in terms of them as employees and workers as well. Make sure people can see that you are actually working for them, working with them, working to produce a greater process in the future. So removing the fear. Remember one thing, fear is false expectations appearing real. For them, it'll be fearful. For you, it may not be, but you have to be able to think through. Otherwise, what you do is you'll get what you classify as illogical resistance. No resistance is illogical for the person delivering that. It's only illogical for the person receiving it. If you come back to this, make change structural and emotional, address those two areas. Big tip for you. Go structural first, emotional comes second. If I know what's happening, and even if I don't like it, as long as the structure's there, I can get used to it. Some of these things then will kick in once the process is there. Always make it safe and always be the master of change. Do not be its victim. Get these two right and you'll get your change processes right each time and every time. Thank you.